Well, that wasn't spot on, but it was pretty damn close. I'm probably catching a whole lot of people by surprise because it is 4:30 in the morning, and that is not when I do the lifeboat. So we are starting a little bit early. We've got some questions that people have asked, and one of the reasons that I am going early today is because I want to take care of. I want to answer some questions that people asked before I get to the meat of what we're going to be talking about today, because this is a good one. But I wanted to talk about a couple of things. Apparently, if you're brand new on the boat, you don't know who Q is. When I was in prison, and I really hope that all of the people that asked this question come across this, but while I was in prison, I was still using dope, and I was still living the life that I had led my entire life. And I got stabbed. I got sent to a new yard, and I was in the process at the new yard of getting back into the same life, doing the dope, doing all of the things. And I met while at the library, trying to look something up. I met a gentleman, a black guy, and in prison, blacks and whites, especially in federal prison and at that security level, don't talk very much unless they basically have to. But we struck up a conversation, and he talked about Unicor, where he worked. I had some questions for him. And over the next very long period of time, this guy became far more than a friend to me. He became a brother. And one day, just as I was falling back into the life, he said to me, "Boy, you have got to be the smartest dumb person I've ever met, or the dumbest smart person that I've ever met." Amazingly, that with my mind and my ability to remember things, and at the time that was still pretty acute with me. It was before I started slipping, and but I don't remember exactly what he said. But it started a process where he said to me, "I'm doing life in prison, and everybody does life a different way. Everybody does their time a different way, but lifers do their time in different ways. And a lot of them make love to a television set. Some of them fight for their own freedom. They learn the legal system, and they just continue to file motion after motion after motion after motion in the hopes of getting their cases heard again." Q just turned his life around. He went into prison and then never got in trouble again. He's never had a write-up. The man has been in prison 30 years and has never had a write-up. He has been working at Unicor, which is a factory inside of prison. And in that factory, you are a factory worker. When you're there for 8 hours a day, it really stops feeling like prison. And he encouraged me to get a job there. And he had a different way, a different outlook on everything. But what he said is the way he does his time, the way he does his time is he helps people who are going to go back out to the street, turn their life around. But that he doesn't deal with people that waste his time. Gave me a big, long breakdown. And then he changed my life, everything about who I was. He showed me a different way of getting sober. I'm not exactly sure what Squirrel just saw, but she got out of Dodge pretty quickly. But he taught me a different way of sobriety and a different life. And he is still doing life in prison for something that he did, for all intents and purposes, as a minor. It's a pretty tough thing to watch. So we had started to do a. So many people have said, "Can we do something for him? Can we reach out?" And organizing it this way is a great idea, because if you get 9 people, or I think we're up to 11 people right now that have donated. But if you get 11 people that try to send you money at the same time, you're going to get slammed immediately into investigation, because they're going to think that people on the yard are having their people send you money. You get 11 names that pop up on your on your computer books in federal prison, and interesting things start to happen. They always think the worst, because that's how a drug dealer actually works. A drug dealer would give you $100 worth of dope, and somebody from the street would then put money on the person's books, or send it ideally to one of their own people. But if you don't have people on the street, then this is what you do. But anyway, that is who Q is. And now that I'm off of federal probation and all of that, and I believe in a higher power. I talk about my belief in God a lot, and I do it more on the other channel when we can get on the other channel. But if you do not believe in God, that's fine. But if you don't, then some really crazy just coincidences are happening. When I tell the story to the lawyer that helped me get off of federal probation, she said to me, "Would you be willing to give me his number and allow me to contact him?" I said, "Well, let me ask him, before I do that." And he was like, "Yeah, absolutely. Give her my number." So I did. And she looked up his case. He's not somebody that's eligible for something like the Innocence Project. He's never, ever said he was innocent. He did what he was accused of doing. But in the way that it went down, the gang was his father, and he did something for the gang. He didn't have a father influence in his life. And it was an amazing, it's amazing the transformation that he has done. You think I've changed. Like, this cat is, if you think about it in the terms of evolution as a human being, this cat has evolved. I'm trying to evolve. I am, but he has, and he is he lives in a state of almost zen that is kind of amazing. I will say this: I said a couple of stupid things last night that I shouldn't have said. And now I have to now I sort of have to address them. I said, you know what? If we raised $1,000 for him, I was going to eat Vegemite. I think if you listen to what was said on that. And we'll have to back it up, but I'm pretty sure I said if we raise $1,000 tonight, I'm going to eat Vegemite. I'm pretty sure that that's what was said, because we are actually like, I don't know, $160 or $170 or something like that, away from 1,000. But we did not hit 1,000 last night. If somebody listens to that and I said if we raise 1,000, if I didn't say the word last night, I have never ever gone back on a bet. So if by some chance I said that all we had to do was raise 1,000 and we do hit that 1,000, which looks like would happen, then I will eat Vegemite. There are 4 people who donated the exact same amount of money. Those 4 people are tied for the largest donation, which would get one of them the Captain Tommy Scoville hat, the original. So that is what we are doing currently. And you do that not here. You do that by going directly to my link on the group page. I mean, on the YouTube page. Just go to About and then head over to where it says donate, and it'll have a PayPal link. If you see a name on the PayPal link that isn't Tommy Scoville, that's because I have not legally changed my name to Tommy Scoville, although I can now. That is, less than 3 weeks old, but I have the ability to actually make that happen. And I am going to legally change my name to Tommy Scoville. I was not born Tommy Scoville, as most of you know. Would have been really funny if my brother and I were actually born with the name Scoville and just somehow had the ability to eat really hot things without looking like we're burning. It would have been a hell of a coincidence, but it was a stage name for my brother. So when I got out of prison, if I did it if I launched under my original name, it would have looked pretty odd because of how much I look like Johnny Scoville, right? Or my brother Kurt, but who was born Kurt, although I haven't called him that in so long now that it's almost and anyway, but it was really cool to come out as a completely new human being. I had changed everything about myself, and when I came out, I changed it. My name was changed. Every bit of it was just a beautiful start. One of the other questions I got, and I got it from like 3 people, is what's the deal with the watches? That is what I do for a living, people. I am a person who buys, sells, and repairs vintage watches. And in every case, the question literally was, what's the deal with the watches? One person wrote, I'm a little confused. Why is it you're so enthralled, or something like that? But every question was about not everybody seems to be fascinated by the fact that I'm fascinated by watches. So I'm going to explain this really quickly, because this, I think, there are massive illustrations that I think will make sense. But I have showed this watch before. This is a Bun Special by a company called Illinois, right? This was one of the first railroad watches that was accurate enough for them to give it the big stamp and say, yes, this is an accurate device. It was a tool. It was not a status symbol or anything of that nature. This was for cats that worked on the railroad, where you had to be on time because your job was to throw a switch by hand that was going to switch the railroad car from one track to another. You screw that up by 4 or 5 minutes, and it's the end of the world world for a whole lot of people. So it was a very important tool. This one was given to me by a friend to restore. He found it among a bunch of everybody in his family worked on the railroad. Going back like 4 generations, he was the first non-railroad worker in his family, which was kind of fascinating. He found all of these watches and he brought all of them to me for repair. So this is the guts. This is the inside of a watch. And if you look at that closely, you'll see the balance wheel going back and forth. That vibrates. It looks like it's going fairly slow, correct? That's going to happen 1,800 times every single hour. Contracting and going back, right? It's a spring in there that goes up and back, up and back, up and back. It's very, very odd how it works. But inside of this, in all of the places that you can't see, right? In all of this underneath here is what makes that go. That is the beating heart of that watch. And it is everything that's going on underneath there is translating that beating heart to what's happening here, right? So what difference does it make? Okay, so one of the things that really draws me to this more than anything else is this guy brings this in. And it's one of the most beautifully designed pieces of equipment on the planet. It is so perfectly designed to do what it does. You wind this, it will run for almost 4 days, right? It's well over 100 years old. But you wind this, it'll run for 4 days. And in that 4 days, it may gain or lose 8 or 9 seconds. For when this was made, it was one of the most high-tech devices of all time. Now, you look at it, what do you see? You just see a gold back, right? You don't see any of the stuff that's important in this. And I think that there's a huge parallel to that. We walk down the streets and we're struggling. We're living in a life where the disease of addiction, and for a lot of us also the disease of mental health, is struggling with mental health is a reality for us every single day. And you walk by people on the street and you know what you see? You see shiny gold, right? That's what you see. You never see the inside of any of these people's lives. It's really unique that people come together in a forum like this and they talk about the things that really hurt, right? They talk about the things in their life. They share, they open up. And do you know why we do that? Because none of us are watchmakers. None of us really have a handle on how to fix ourselves. The most complex and beautiful piece of equipment that has ever been made is the human being. Absolutely phenomenal. I believe that it was designed by God. You can believe whatever you want, but regardless of what you believe, we are the most beautifully designed piece of equipment ever. What we are capable of is fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. Our capacity for abstract thought, our ability to create. I am talking to people all over the entire planet from a room in my house. I remember when telephones still had cords on them, right? I remember the Commodore 64, the Apple I, when none of this was a reality. Do you realize that when Captain Kirk used to flip out the communicator on Star Trek and say, "Beam me up," we thought that was the coolest thing you've ever seen in your life. It wasn't even as good as a Motorola flip phone, but boy, we were damn impressed, weren't we? That was 1966. That was 1966. Think of how far we have come since 1966. We are the greatest machine of all time. However, just like this thing, perfect. There's no metal points on this. So where metal touches metal and it will start to grind down over 100 years, can you imagine how much damage would be done? Well, it doesn't go into that. That little hard metal pin goes into a ruby, right? Directly into a jewel. And those 23 jewels just take a minuscule, almost a microscopic amount of lubrication and they'll run forever. Every once in a while, they just need a cleaning, right? Just like us. Every once in a while, maybe once a week, maybe every morning, we just need a cleaning. You just need to dump off any of the grit and any of the dirt that is starting to gunk up the gears. Well, you know what? If you take really good care of a watch, if you don't take the back off of it, you keep it wound so that it's always going, the thing might just run forever. So how do we do that as human beings? Well, you ungunk yourself with a friggin' journal. And if you're not hearing this, wake the hell up. I talk about it nonstop. But you want to ungunk your gears? Then don't go to bed with a mind full of crap, and don't attack your day with a mind full of dreams. Don't go to bed with all of the stuff that you did during the day parked on your brain. It will absolutely eat you alive. You feel me? It will eat you alive. Buddha Davis, I'm glad that you're here, but it's the exact same thing. Now, I'm of the firm believer that I can approach the watchmaker, the guy that built me. Now, if you don't believe that, that's fantastic, honestly. But if I were you, I would have a belief of some kind. If the belief is, I believe there's nothing out there, okay, fine. Go with that. Then how do we approach you then in terms of this recovery thing? If you are the only being that has anything to do with it, how do we put together a good plan for you? I'm not going to bust your chops. I just want everybody on this channel, everybody who's going forward on this road to sobriety, to actually have a game plan, to know how they're going to cope, to know what they're going to do. And I talk to people all the time who are in the process of putting this game plan together. It's very different for people who have a belief that they can go directly to the watchmaker, right? The people who believe in God have a completely different set of game plans than the people that don't. If you do not believe in a higher power, then you need to make something, whether it's your local meeting at an AA or NA group and a sponsor, whether it's this group of people. If there are two or more people that are all pulling for the same cause, well, then that's a power greater than you. I don't think there's any way to debate that. You're trying to get sober. You're trying to do it on your own. If you could find a couple of people, even if you found one person who was willing to say, hey, give me a call if you're hurting or whatever, well, that's twice you, right? Definitely a power greater than yourself. To the second power. Should be a pretty easy concept. But regardless, if you don't tune this puppy up, they're worthless. I mean, you can keep it going. It'll tick. I mean, it might lose 4 or 5 minutes a day. You might not be doing really well in the relationship department, but you know what? I'm still getting by, right? And I'm not an alcoholic. I drink 5 or 6 beers a day, right? But I don't get out of control. I haven't lost any jobs or anything like that. Yeah, I'm not doing as well at work as I used to. There's no such thing as a functioning addict. There isn't. The term should be surviving addict. Yeah, there are surviving addicts all over the place. People who get looped, do what they do, go to work, get their paycheck, come home, their marriage is still together. That's surviving. That's not thriving, right? And that's not functioning as the way you were designed. Because the way you were designed was designed for connection, for intimacy, for all of the crap that we toss out the window as soon as we start picking up substances. You know what substances are? They're crappy oil, for real. You get this thing done right, there's this oil called Mobius, right? And you see this puppy? You would not believe what a bottle this size cost. I mean, it's frightening how much a bottle this size costs. But for an oil, you see how the liquid just runs up and down? The viscosity is as thin as water. It really is. It's as thin as water. And this stuff is expensive. But it's the right stuff to put on that watch. 200 years from now, when I'm long dead and we're all gone, and this puppy will be doing exactly what it was designed to do right now. You say, how the hell do you know that? Well, because I have watches in this house that are 200 years old and change, that are doing exactly what they were designed to do the day they were built. Little perspective. The factory in Illinois where this was built didn't have electricity. Run that one around in your dome a little bit. This was built without electricity. And it does exactly what it is supposed to do, because it is a beautifully designed piece of equipment. Look at the decorations they pulled off on that. It's called perlage. You see, like, it's supposed to look like the sunrise on that bun special. All of this done without electricity. These are tools that guys were pumping their legs with or using steam power to power equipment, but the stuff that these people did. And the fascinating part to me is that no matter how screwed up this thing gets, like when he pulled it out of his pocket, I knew it was a bun special the second I saw it. And he said to me, I'm really hoping this can be fixed. I said, oh, it can be fixed. And he said, you haven't looked at it. I don't care. It can be fixed. It's so beautifully built that if the time is taken, right? You can put this thing back together and it will be as good, if not better, than it was when they made it. But I'll tell you something. You see this gold thing on the outside of it, right? That case, it means absolutely shite. That's what it means. It means nothing. When this watch was built, nobody had it in a gold case. There's only about 900 of these that were built ever, right? 900 to 1100, something like that. It's a very small production run. But they weren't putting gold watch cases because they weren't for fancy guys to walk around with this thing hanging out of the breast pocket. This was a tool. This was for getting bopped around. Now, the vast majority of them do end up in gold cases because now it's a collector's dream, and the collectors who buy it usually are affluent and they stick it in a gold case. This case is not gold. It's going to stay in this thing because this watch is not for sale. This was given to me by somebody. But the beautiful thing is the outside of what you look like doesn't mean shite. You could be Christy Brinkley, right? Or you can be the Marge Simpson's sisters, right? You can look like Homer Simpson, or you can look like George Clooney. It doesn't matter. You can be 14 karat gold. You can be 18 karat gold. You can be platinum. You can be platinum with cool crap carved into it. Maybe a little palladium, just tricked out. Diamond the crap out of that thing, encrust it, maybe have your initials carved in it. You know what? How are you ticking inside? Because all of that stuff on the outside, whether it's made by Rolex or Prada, or just you putting up on Facebook the picture of you and your significant other like this, and nobody knows that 8 seconds after that picture was taken, the two of you were arguing about the flavor of the day, whatever that argument happened to be. Let's see something here. Let's see something here. Well, John Doe, aren't you just a ray of sunshine today? Yeah, there's no telling where we're going to be. There's no telling where we're going to be. But I'll say this. These look like the end times to me. They do. I've been very open about that. They look like the end times to me. But I'll tell you something. In the late 60s, when Martin Luther King got shot, when all of these political assassinations were taking place, Malcolm X, in 63, they had lost Kennedy, and all of these things were happening. The Watts riots, the late 60s, people thought it was the end of the world. In 1939, people thought it was the end of the world. And the predictions were made that there was no chance we were going to be around in 5 to 10 years. And the truth of the matter is, I grew up in the 80s when they told us every single day in school, they told us we were all going to die in a nuclear holocaust and we were never going to see 30. We didn't need to worry about it. Well, here I am at 53. So there's no telling what's going to happen in 2050. I know I'm not going to be here, right? But I'll tell you something. I'm going to be here today. I'm going to be here today. And there are 2 things that I can promise you. I'm not going to do drugs today. Right? That's a given. And I'm going to bust my ass to see if I can do anything to help people that do drugs try to stop today. I'll probably do the same thing tomorrow. It's what I do. You know what I mean? It's all I got. We're not guaranteed tomorrow. And yesterday ain't worth a fluff. It doesn't mean anything. So today's all we got. Let's see what we can do. That would be my humble opinion. So I went outside last night. Look at that. 5 o'clock rolls around. I did the question and answer thing, and now we'll get right into the subject matter. Little quick intro though. Last night, man, I went outside for a swim, late night swim. I was doing show prep, believe it or not, for some stuff that's coming up. But I was doing some show prep last night, and I went outside for a swim. And I thought, you know what? I'll let Squirrel Nut Zipper out. She loves going outside, and we got a fence around the property. So she usually sticks with inside the fence. Occasionally she goes over it, and I got to yell at her or whatever. But So she goes over by the open door we got. And the open door is mesh. You can see through it, but there's, it would be difficult for a cat to get through. She could pull it off, but it would be hard. But it gives her perfect access to look to the outside. And we have this little animal in Arizona called the prairie dog. Very cool looking little things to look at. Very, very good looking stuff. So she's looking at this cute little prairie dog. And I don't realize that at the time. I just see her doing this one and her tail's doing this number. Well, she jumps to the fence, which is damn near 6 feet tall, right? It's a concrete number. But she jumps to the top of this fence. And I said, "Squirrel, don't you dare." And of course, she listened to me and jumped off the other side as fast as she could. After jumping off the other side, she kind of disappeared into cactuses and all kinds of other stuff. I'm talking about she's hauling the mail. She is moving as fast as you can move away from my house. And I'm freaking out. I mean, it's late at night. And I got on nothing but a pair of shorts and no shoes, which is not ideal. But I open the gate. I run around the back of the fence. And I start chasing this cat by moonlight. And she is way the hell away from my house. And now she's on to me. Like, Squirrel has come to the realization that Dad is not particularly happy. And she really is, I don't know. Now she's worried, right? Doesn't like the tone of my voice. So she's going even further away. People, it took me like 10 or 15 minutes to get Squirrel. And I'm talking about 10 or 15 minutes at night, standing in the desert among cactuses barefoot, just waiting to get bit by a rattlesnake or anything else. Just really tripping. It was a very, very uncomfortable situation. So currently I am very unhappy with Squirrel Nut Zipper. I really am. Now, I love cats, right? I'm a big fan. And Squirrel is the absolute epitome of cat. She can't help herself. What she did is in her DNA, right? That's not her fault. She absolutely just did what a cat does. And she should be able to do what a cat does. Am I right? This should be something that I don't get all that torqued out of shape about. Yeah, we're not letting you work 7th. That's not that. It's not something I should get torqued out of shape about. However, I am covered in little stickers and all kinds of other things that are just not fun to have all over your body. I've been miserable. I really have. I have been miserable since. And I've taken like 3 or 4 showers where I just sort of scrubbed myself with a really heavy brush. But for those in the US, have you ever put in anything with Stray Cat Strut? Have you ever put in anything with Owens Corning fiberglass, Pink Panther fiberglass? You know what I'm talking about? The Owens Corning R13 or something like that. It's absolutely miserable stuff. And if you get it on you, your entire body itches. Well, that's how I feel. And I've been in the pool a couple of times. I've been in the shower and I cannot get this stuff off me. I am in absolute agony. I am in hell that way. It's just a bummer. So on to today's subject matter. I'll tell you a story that is one of my least favorite stories on planet Earth, but I'm going to tell you anyway, because that's how I roll. A long time ago, and I've told the story on the boat before, but if you're new here, you may not have heard this. A long time ago, I was doing a deal where you could surf the internet through your television set. It was a very cool concept. And this was in the very, very early days of the internet. And you've probably seen these devices. One's made by Philips Magnavox. One was made by Sony. It was called Web TV. Okay. Well, prior to Web TV, there was another company, and I will not tell you the name of the company because it would make finding this clip of film easier, and I would just assume that clip of film stays lost. Anyway, this company had a set-top box you would put on top of a television, and it allowed you to surf the internet. And I was going on a television show that was on in the morning, and millions of people watched this show. Pieces, you may have to watch the beginning. I did a very long explanation for who Q was. So if you do catch the beginning of this show afterwards, I will explain the godfather of the lifeboat, so to speak. So it is there. Now, I think it was you that asked. If it wasn't you, I apologize, and I sound even dumber. It may not have been you. You're Annette. I don't know who asked anymore. See, this is what happens. I used to have a memory, people. It used to be actually somewhat remarkable, but that memory just ain't what it used to be. So I go on this show, and they literally said to me, the reach of this audience is close to 3 million and change. I said, 3 million. That's so many people, right? And this was at a time where the internet, there was 3 or 4% of the country that was on it, right? We're talking about a very, it was me. Okay, good. I talked about him in the beginning, and I explained it. So I'm going on this show with this very large reach, and very few people in the US were on the internet. So this was an opportunity not just to show off this device, but to show off the internet in general, which was usually half my pitch. And it was such an easy pitch. We made so much money, it was scary. But I'm getting ready to go on this show, and I was picked because they thought I did a pretty good job, right? Of all of the people that represented the product, I was somebody that they thought would be good, especially in a live format, because I wouldn't necessarily feel the pressure that other people would feel because I had done so much live stuff in my life. So I go on this show, and we're sitting there waiting, and I go up, and I got a tech guy with me, and he hooks up the device, and we got a TV out there. And there were no flat screens, by the way, back then, but we had a very nice TV set up on the set and everything else. And I turn it on, and boom. And there they are. And they're like, wow, so you do this right through TV? I said, I do. Check this out. And I typed in the word football into the search bar. Now, I didn't Google it because there was no Google. The search engines were rudimentary back in the beginning, but I typed in into the search bar, I typed in football, and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of websites came up. Of course, now there's probably hundreds of millions, but at the time it was very impressive. And they said, all right, fantastic. And I'd never forget, they had a woman on before me that was just this sweet old woman. And she was telling her story, and had something to do with them digging up their backyard looking for something and coming across a tremendous amount of antique money that somebody had buried. But anyway, so the way it works is, like, she's on this set, and then there's another set right next to it, and I'm already sitting on it. And that's the set with the TV and all that, and the cameras are just going to move. It looks identical, but it's just, you know, I mean, it looks like during the commercial they moved everything. They didn't. They just moved the camera up. So the commercial's on, and we come back on, and I'm talking about the green light. They say to you, when the green light comes on, you're live. The green light comes on, and the friggin' TV goes to static. It goes, shh. And all of a sudden, we've got white noise. And I don't remember now if the segment was 3 minutes long. It was either 3 or 4 minutes. It was a very long segment. If the device was working, it would have been a very short segment, because I wouldn't have had enough time to debut what I really wanted to show. But that was not the case. The case was that it never worked. And my tech guy kind of did a disappearing act. You know, he had a great fear of being on camera, and he would have had to have been on camera to touch the back of this TV or anything else. And there were 2 people that were kind of hosting. And so they're feeding off each other with questions like, well, if this was working, if you could get this to work, what would we be looking at? And they were sort of doing it tongue in cheek and kind of laughing back and forth to each other. I like the search engine dog pile. I didn't know there was a search engine called dog pile. So there I am. And it was one of the most uncomfortable things that has ever happened to me. And they didn't cut to commercial, which would have been lovely, right? Hold on. Not even his fault, too. It is one of his girlfriend's fault, because she can't drive. I'm gonna revisit that later, Scoob, because it has the word fault in it. Video killed the radio star. Well, this killed Tommy. I was sitting there, and thank God that I wasn't Tommy at the time. But I'm sitting there and in a living hell. I'm not exaggerating. I am in a living hell. And it just seemed to go on forever. I'm sorry, that's funny. So there I am, sweating through the suit that I'm wearing. And when they could have cut the commercial, like they have that authority, they could have cut this, but they were really enjoying watching the bleeding. They enjoyed watching me suffer. It was entertainment. And the sad thing is that I told 3/4 of the United States, "Hey man, you need to tune in tomorrow morning. I'm going to be on national TV." Right? This is my chance. Now, it became a thing of legend in the company. That clip of film got a lot of views back in the day before views. It was on a VHS tape and it got passed around quite often. And my brother Johnny was merciless until he realized that I probably could use a little sympathy. I was a good sport about the whole thing, but I'll be honest, it was absolutely awful. And the first thing I wanted to know the second it was over, whose mother loving fault is it that this just happened to me? It was very, very important for me to know who the hell I could point my anger at. You understand what I'm saying? Like, this was a big deal. Yes, this was embarrassing. We can get over embarrassment, right? We all get over embarrassment. It's not the end of the world. Something bad like that happens to you. It's not the end of the world. You more than likely are going to get over this. But I wanted to know who the hell to blame. Was it the tech guy? Was it the people at the show? Was this a setup? Whose damn fault was this? Because it wasn't my fault. I went on there, right, with the best of intentions, ready to roll. Whose fault is this? I didn't realize at that stage in my life that it does not make a shite bit of difference whose fault it is. I went on TV and I made a jackass out of myself. It was absolutely remarkable for the company. I think that if it had worked, we would have gotten less out of it, if that makes sense. And I'll tell you what I mean by that. Instead of showing people what this thing could do, it made people wonder if this thing really could do what I was saying it could. And instead of making a snap decision on it right there, a lot of people ended up calling us, and it led to a lot more money. Didn't mean it was fun. It was still one of the most embarrassing, to this day, one of the most embarrassing things I have ever endured in my life. One of the longest periods of time of any kind of discomfort that I can ever remember, with lights in your face, and you just know that you are. Every household in the U.S. is laughing. I can literally picture people in their living room going, "Oh, this poor dude, right? Looks like an idiot." But it is what it is. But as addicts, we really, really struggle with this. This whole "whose fault is it" thing is incredible. I'm not kidding. Talk to an addict for 5 minutes, and I'm telling you, I do this all day long. Talk to an addict for 5 minutes, and you are going to hear the word fault more than you will hear from a normie in the entire time that you know them. We do this. This is something that all of us do. And the deeper in our addiction, the more people there are to blame, right? A lot of blame to go around. If you've been addicted to dope for 20 or 30 years, man, there is blame to go around. I used to do meetings in federal prison for people that were trying to get off dope, people that were trying to get sober. And in the very beginning, when I first started it, I'd say, look, you know what? I know there are questions that you don't ask a convict in prison, right? You wait for a guy to tell you what he's in for. You don't say to a guy, "What are you in for?" Now, the exception to that rule is if I'm on the welcoming committee and you just came off the bus, I want to know what your crime is, right? But just somebody that you meet in the chow hall or anything else, you wait until that person wants to open up to you and tell you what his rip is, how much time he's got, things like that. It's just kind of the way it's done. But I said in this group, it's not going to roll like that. In this group, I want to know, right? So we're going to go around the circle and tell me what you're in prison for. And the very first guy said, I'm in prison because I had a meth lab and my old lady and I got into a fight and I kind of shoved her. It's not like I punched her or really put hands on her, but I kind of shoved her and she called the cops. In this guy's mind, he's in prison because his girl called the cops. Not the fact that he went to 17 stores to buy to buy Sudafed. Not that he had to go and break into a place, right, to come up with the red phosphorus that he was going to need for the cook, right, or the blue iodine. All of the stuff that he did to assemble all of these chemicals. Put the entire thing together with all of the equipment that he had to chase down over God's creation. That had nothing to do with him being in prison. Cranking out batch after batch after batch had nothing to do with him being in prison. He was in prison because it was his girlfriend's fault. If that hadn't called the cops, he'd still be out there doing his thing. That's what he's in prison for. And then it went around the circle, and it was everybody. Everybody. What are you in prison for? My partner told on me. His fault. Right? He couldn't hold his mud. That's the term that people like to use in the crime world, as in he defecated himself. When he started getting questioned, he cut a deal instantly. So that's not owning it. You understand that? There is an evolution in sobriety where you're going to get to a point where you realize, Valerie, that's just as bad, love. It really is. Valerie says, I always think everything is my fault. Well, this may not sound like it is such a fantastic, but trust me on this one. That's just as bad. It is. Putting every bit of blame for every single thing that happens onto you does not pay off. By the way, you're wrong. It's not all your fault. We have to separate fact from fiction, says Pieces. And absolutely, that is the fact. That you have to separate fact from fiction. How do you do that? I don't know. Here's what you should do. Don't write anything down. Never take a pen. Never put it to a piece of paper. Especially don't do it at night before you go to bed. And especially don't do it in the morning as soon as you get out of bed. There you go. Sarcasm coming through thick. If you are writing down things before you go to bed at night, in the morning, you write down everything before you go out and you do your day. Your journal will become your counselor. Your counselor will talk to you. Your counselor will tell you everything that is going on in your life that is driving you in the wrong direction. Trust me on this one. And it will also help you come to realize that, you know what? It's not your fault. Yeah, it's not. Here's another one that's going to freak you right out. You know what else isn't your fault? Your addiction. That's no joke. It's not your fault. It's not. It's not anyone else's either. You were born with a predisposition to a disease called addiction. Just like a diabetic is born with a predisposition to type 2 diabetes. If that person's lifestyle, if he lives it or she lives in such a way, they can increase the odds that they actually get the full-blown disease that they're already carrying the genetic makeup for. If we abuse substances, and guess what? Everybody abuses substances. If you see a person walking around on the street and they are a normie, it doesn't mean that they didn't spend 18 or 20 days in 1 month back in college getting drunk every night. They may have drank 5 nights a week for their freshman year in college. The difference is they didn't have the gene that was going to say, that's it, we own you now. Now there's no going back. See, you're different than them. Should you feel guilty about that? Hey, if you want to, knock yourself out, right? The Lord knows the world wants you to, right? If you do what the world wants you to, you will feel guilty about that. You will feel weak. You will feel like you have no willpower, that this is a statement on who you are as a human being. When I have high expectations upon another person, that is a problem. If you have expectations, period, upon another person, that's a problem. Honestly, good to see you, Ethan. It is not. Whenever we expect things from people, we let ourselves down. We expect people to live up to standards that very rarely are set realistically. There are times you have to rely on people. There are times that you have to put expectations on someone. You got somebody that works for you, and you say, "I need this, this, and this done." If that isn't done, balake. Good to see you. If that doesn't get done, then you're left in the lurch. Obviously, there are things like that. But when we expect our loved ones to do X, Y, and Z, we're setting ourselves up for trouble. Unless, of course, you communicate the hell out of that. ZW, member for 7 months. People, do you believe it's been 7 months? Thank you, ZW. And thank you for all your support. You've been absolutely amazing from the very first day that you stepped onto the lifeboat. That is a gospel truth. Full of hope. Good to see you. Goddess Divine. Glad you're here. Scooby. I'm not telling my brothers I'm not their sister. Okay. That is yes, it is. I wouldn't do that either. Trainee Human is here. Good to see you, Trainee Human. I love it when you catch a live. Always fun. Glad that you are here. So we got to get back to trying to get to, and I don't care what your religious affiliation is, because I'm not using this in the religious sense of the word, but you got to get to a point of Zen in your sobriety. You have to get to a point. I really felt I was going to get a DWI driving to a Packy. Are you from the Northeast, Seagull? You've probably gone over this before, but if you were going to a Packy, I got to assume that you're from the Northeast. Maybe Massachusetts, maybe Rhode Island. There aren't too many places in the country that you go to the Packy, right? The Packy is a very uniquely Northeast thing. So exactly where are you from in the Northeast? And if you already told me this, if you have, I apologize. But sometimes I can't even figure out my own mind says pieces. Well, look, the whole purpose of the sobriety thing, this entire journey, is to come to grips with the fact that we did things while we were under the influence of our substance of choice that we can't do anything about. There's no going back and undoing that. Massachusetts, of course you are. That makes perfect sense, going to the Packy. He was heading down to the package store to go buy some beers and cardboard boxes that don't have anything on them, and they only cover about the bottom inch of the can. Absolutely a nightmare every time you try to carry things home from the Packy. Beers end up everywhere, rolling all over the street. It was always a nightmare. I grew up in your neck of the woods. I know the Packies. But boy, it's just an expression I hadn't heard in a real long time. That's great. A Packy is a liquor store. It is. It's a package store. But it's a little different than a liquor store in that, like, when you buy stuff, you never get it in the fancy packaging. You never get it in the, or when I was growing up, you got it. They would come in like little cardboard, just holding the 24 beers in there, so that it was like the cheapest way you could get it. Packies were always the very inexpensive way to get beer. What about the Buffalo Bills? You know what? You can put that into a comment section at any point, and it will always be funny to me. I'm just saying. The Green Bay Packies. There you go. It's called an offie in Ireland. Full of Hope, can you explain why? And I realize maybe this isn't the time for the question, but I've wanted to ask you this like 6 times, and then you and I will get off on a tangent and I'll forget. Why is it called an offie? Yes, Packy, short for package store. That's correct. C7 understands. Off license. I'm not sure I understand that anymore, but at least I understand. I mean, I get it. I just don't know that I understand it. I give she is on drugs and keep supporting her. Sorry, people, hold on. I will never forget the past, nor do I wish to close the door on them. Progress, 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 not perfection. I drank over that stuff. Today is good. Good for you, man. Good for you. The drinking is an attempt to use really cheap oil on our watch. If you were missing my watch analogy earlier, but drinking, the reason that people do drugs, the reason that people get high is because it's a very easy way to deal with our feelings and our emotions instead of going to psychotherapy, instead of going to church, instead of holding on to those little cans that the Scientologists do, instead of trying to fix the problem. We want to band-aid the problem. We want to be able to fix the problem on demand. See, to actually fix yourself requires that you work all day long, right? You have to work on this problem for a long period of time. It has to become something that you do every single day, right? It's huge. Or on demand, when I start feeling uncomfortable in my own skin, right? I can grab a beverage, right? Pop the top of that thing. And in 3 of them, I make it go away. That's easier than having to commit to a whole new life where I got to learn all of this new crap. Here's what most people don't seem to get. With that new life, you get so much else. That's not all you get, is that you're saving money on booze. All of a sudden, when you're not dull, when you haven't dulled who you are, it's amazing what you will blossom into. Full of Hope says, it's not licensed to drink there. Gotcha. It's licensed to sell liquor. So it's not licensed. It's off license. I hope that helps. It does, actually. That makes an awful lot of sense. Today, I love my mind. How great is that? How great is that? When you're in harmony, because I'll tell you something, I hated my mind for a very long time. It was my number one enemy. And there are still days that it is. These days, though, I think the key for me is that I keep really short accounts. I no longer let the things that really upset me gain a head of steam. Because if I let the things, hold on one second. If I let the things that upset me gain a head of steam, then I get out of control and I start raging and I start doing all kinds of things that I'm not proud of. So I keep really short accounts and I look to see if I'm moving in the right direction or if I am moving in the wrong direction. Dulled. Thank you, Siegel. I think it's the perfect word, right? That's what I did for years. Yeah, Full of Hope. Dumb Irish girl. I'll tell you what. She's an Irish girl, to be sure. She isn't dumb, but she's for sure an Irish girl. Believe it or not, I'm actually pretty calm. When someone says, believe it or not, I'm actually pretty calm. It leads me to believe that people might think that you're really not calm. I don't know, John Doe. I have no reason to believe that you're not calm. When my skin gets tough to be in, I massage it. I put lotion on it. It soothes me and my skin. I love that. That is a coping mechanism. Make no mistake. Have you ever watched somebody go into an interrogation room? Right? What's the first thing they do? They start grooming the hell out of themselves. They start doing all of it because any kind of touch to your own body is self-soothing. It really is. James Novak said, without sugarcoating it, we all drank and did drugs because we wanted to. No excuse. Well, that's certainly how it starts, James. It starts because we want to do dope. And then over time, subconsciously, I'm not saying anybody in the moment goes, oh, you know what? I'm really messed up about the ex-wife and, losing the kids and all that. So I'm going to go do heroin. But it's one of those things that once you're back out and you realize it's the answer to the unanswerable. One of the reasons for me that it was so important that I peeled the onion to find out, because I believed wholeheartedly that I did dope because I liked the way it felt. There it is. No excuse. And then I got sober, and I got sober long enough to start peeling that onion and trying to figure out at what point in my life did I start doing dope. And it proves out in the wash because as I'm living my life now, the things that will trigger me enough to want to use are the same things that got me addicted back in the day. I didn't know that at the time. Thought I was just getting high. I did dig getting high. I loved the way drugs made me feel. Almost every one of them. Very few drugs that I really disliked the buzz. Alcohol. You know what I mean? Like a 2 beer buzz was always great. 3 beer buzz was great. I started getting more in me than that. They just the tired and the lethargy and all that goes along with it. But other than that, I think I liked pretty much every buzz, at some level. But at the end, I wasn't doing it because I liked it. I mean, the last 10 or 15 years that I did heroin, I never got high. I never felt anything remotely approaching a high. I was doing it. Yeah, it triggers. I was doing it solely for the purpose of staving off the guilt of the life that I had destroyed. That was it. That was why I did my dope. Sometimes I go through a bottle of lotion in a day. I don't give whatever it is the power anymore. Good for you. And you know what? You got great skin, right? It's a win-win. Lethargy, great word. Thank you. For a long time, I convinced myself I had made myself an alcoholic, that I somehow conditioned myself into it. Since I started coming here, I'm starting to accept it actually is a disease. You're damn right it's a disease. And the proof is they could put you on a machine right now, take a look at your brain. Before they do, they could put up an image of a brain and they could take a pen and point to it and say, see right here, you're going to be firing right there more than this guy or anybody else. And you're going to be almost asleep over here on this side when everybody else is firing, because that's what happens in the mind of an addict. That is a test that can demonstrate that, yes, indeedy, we have a no-lie verifiable disease. And the people that like to argue it with me, I no longer do it. I used to argue this point with people, sometimes for hours on end. John Doe says he's not going to do the joke, so I'm going to do it just because it kind of should be, right? I mean, it is what it is. You can't make this many references to lotion without someone saying it puts the lotion on the skin. Or it gets the hose again. It puts the lotion on the skin. It does so whenever it is told. Oh, wait. Never mind. It was my job to make Dad's after work martinis. Was it really? My Lord in heaven. Every day after work, you would make Dad's martinis? I think I remember you saying that once before. Now that I say it, I had a long list of damage. I used to call me broken. Now I call me living in my recovery. I am looking forward to the day. Where people are going. Thank you, Buddha. I am looking forward to the day where people are going to use the word recovered. Right? I'll be dead, and they'll say, "Yeah, that idiot bank robber used to say that." But the day is coming where we are going to refer to someone that is no longer a threat to themselves from their substance of choice. Someone that, and I don't believe that it's a number. I don't think that, well, when you get to 15 years, you're cured. But I believe that there are people for whom it's such a given in their life that they will never use again. I don't know. I personally, I know it pisses people off to no end. I am a cured heroin addict. I die. I leave this planet without ever doing heroin again. I assure you. Well, that doesn't surprise me. Full of Hope says that she had a dream and she couldn't understand a single word I was saying. There are usually at least somewhere between 30 to 60 people here every day who would tell you the exact same thing. They'd say, hell yeah, I go to the lifeboat all the time. I very rarely understand anything the guy's saying. That's not such a foreign concept. I don't know why you'd be surprised. Keep it in the freezer to prevent ice from forming before he got home. I'll be damned, Seventh. I would love to say recovered. I'm not a threat to me or anyone around. This is a lifelong progress report, and I want A's. Pieces. You sound very, very much like somebody in the process of full recovery. Someone who will be recovered. Make no mistake. Recovered doesn't mean you can go have a drink. Recovered means you can't go have a drink. There's never going to be that doubt in your mind, right? Recovered doesn't mean that I can do opiates. Recovered means I know for a fact I can never do opiates. It's never going to be a debate. I'm never going to have that day where I go, I can do this once. I've done that. I've got that down to a science. I know for a damn fact I can't do it once. I know for a fact that the only way I win that fight is by not just getting into a fight with it in the first place. If I were to get high, whose fault would it be? For real. Because let's go. We can play these games. And we do, don't we? We play these games all the time. Let's just say that I come on tomorrow and I say, you know what, crew? I relapsed last night. I don't know. I went into town and I bought some Perk 30s. Probably ended up, Fent or whatever. But I go out and I get a couple of pills and I say, you know what? I relapsed last night. But, right? And here comes the fault part. But, I was speaking in prison slang on the phone really fast and I was in a passenger seat of a car just starting thinking this. What is he saying? I got you. I was cursing up a storm and using prison talk, but you had no idea what I was talking about. That checks out. That makes more sense. That actually makes a lot more sense. But I am a person that really believes I attained the level of recovered when I knew for a fact. I came to grips with the fact that I'm allergic to this crap. I mean, it's the only way that I can look at it. And I know it makes for a good punchline, right? I'm allergic to it. Whenever I take it, I break out in handcuffs. But I'm bumped, right? Well, you hear that all the time in prison. But it's the truth. If I start doing heroin, eventually I'm going to be in jail. I'm going to be in prison. I can't control it. But I can control it by not doing it, right? I am in complete control of heroin. How about that? I am in complete control of opiates. I am in complete control of drugs in my life. You follow me? It's pi, C's, astrology, okay? Pi as in 341, like pi as in the number that we use to figure out the circumference or something? Because if you're new to the boat, you may not be aware of this, but we do have a bit of a rule of sorts on the boat. It's like a sleazy, once you scratch it, the itch goes nuts. Absolutely. Absolutely it is. I was told there would be no math. Kind of a battle cry around here. We've been saying that one for a really, really long time here on the lifeboat. You know what? Hold on a second. What the deuce? Do we have phases of the moon, Miss V? Is V here? Okay. There's I knew there was something askew in the universe. Miss V is not here. I sense a disturbance in the force. Good morning, Rick Smith. How are you? For those about to rock, you salute me. Buddha, I'm glad you're doing better, man. Much love. Scooby says, my phone hates me. Can you imagine how mine feels about me? Let's just say that my phone gets a lot of use and a decent amount of abuse as well. Oh, fun stuff. We've been doing a little inside baseball stuff. Last week, 2,500 individuals came by the lifeboat. Unique visitors, 2,500, or 50% of our audience actually showed up last week. I got news for you. That didn't happen. 80% of the people that came here last week did not ever, do not hit subscribe. They just come by and watch videos and leave. If you're watching the lifeboat and you've never hit the subscribe button, shame on you. I'm not going to put you on a mailing list. Hit the subscribe button, then hit the bell for notification, and you will know, in theory, every time we go live here on the boat. And we go live a lot. We are a channel that puts up a lot of content. Why? Because we think the more time that you spend thinking about bettering yourself, the better off you're going to be. We got stymied on Sunday by a trouble over on the other channel. I will be going live there this Sunday. However, I am probably going to go live on Saturday as well to make up for the one that we missed last week. And I think I may end up doing 2 in 2 days. 5 of us haven't hit the like button. Come on, crew. We can do better than that, says Balake. Gotta love it. Friday already, Seagull. I'll tell you what's even crazier than that is that it's the 4th. Tomorrow's the 5th. That's the day I see my doctor every single month for my medical assisted treatment. And I was looking at the amount of my prescription that I still had left. And I was like, I mean, I realize I'm taking minuscule amounts, but I looked at this and just thought, there's no way I'm supposed to go back to the doctor already. But I'm going to do it. I'm stocking up for the apocalypse. For your information, my doctor appointment went great yesterday, and because I opened up about my mental health, mainly because of the support I got here. My doctor got me set up with a therapist. I am so happy about that. Valerie, that was all you. That's what that was. You went in there and became an advocate for yourself and communicated with your doctor. Good for you. Now, I will use it as an illustration because you put it up there. I will absolutely use it as a illustration. And the reason I will is we do this all the time. We sometimes go to the worst common denominator every single time when we should probably start out with the best, right? Manifest. Try to start out with the best possible case scenario. What's the best thing that could have happened? Well, the doctor could have been really, really cool, right? He could have listened to everything that you said, and he could have tried to get you set up with some help. Well, holy hell, he did. So good for you. Man, that's awesome. Honestly, I am so happy for you, Valerie. That is excellent. Yeah, Tim, there's actually, I'm not trying to bum anybody out, but the updates do that. It's been proven. You can look up the case. They send updates to slow down how long it takes for you to charge your phone. They literally put something in there to slow down the battery. They got in trouble for it. There's a court case. Yeah, how cool is that, right? Man, I am so happy for you. I really am. Okay, so it's going to be tough on the hat people because right now 4 people are tied for the exact same size donation. So I don't know what we'll do on that. Maybe I'll have to cut the hat into some pieces. We'll chop that puppy up. But the largest donation to Q is getting the hat, and I'm cutting this off tonight at midnight. It's not that I don't want to raise tons of money for Q, but we already have, and I'm not going to give you a unlimited amount of time to force me to eat Vegemite. We are within striking distance. But if at midnight tonight we are under that $1,000 mark, then I don't have to eat any Vegemite. And I've never lied to you people, and I never will. I'm telling you right now, we're under 200 away. We're frighteningly close. But I'm also going to look at last night's video and see whether or not I actually said that if we hit 1,000, I'm almost like 100% sure that what I said was if we hit 1,000 tonight. So we may have to look at that. But if I screwed up, I promise you I will eat the damn Vegemite. If I can get the top off, because as was pointed out last night, I have been tightening this thing for so long that it's going to be very difficult to get this off. Yeah, don't. You know something, people? We can talk forever about sobriety, and we probably will, because I do want there to be a support group for people to come and get together and talk. But what it really comes down to more than anything in the world is you need to know who you are. You need to learn yourself, right? You need an owner's manual for you. The watchmaker that put you together did not give you an owner's manual, right? You're going to build your own. And everybody builds their own owner's manual in a different way, right? Some people use a religious text as the backbone for who they're going to be. Some people do not. Some people just choose to be a leaf on a river. Toss that baby out there, it goes where it does, and then that leaf pisses and moans about every single place that that river takes it. Get a pad and a piece of paper. Make a plan for your future. If you've never written down a plan for your future, how in the name of God are you surprised that you've never gotten to a goal? Well, you never really set one, right? I set goals all the time. Really? Do you make a list of what you're going to do to get that goal? Well, no. Okay, well, then you're not going to get it. Pen and paper. Pen and paper, the key to life. Boltneck. It's a product made of yeast waste or something like that that people eat on toast in Australia. It sounds horrible. Tell me she didn't do a beautiful job describing that. Honestly. Men at Work is more than just a band. It's also a movie. What? What? Why was I not told? I drink mostly distilled water, almost a gallon a day. I went shopping yesterday and got mostly fruits and veggies from my juicer. Nice. I love it. Boy, my phone's been lighting up, hasn't it? Let's make sure it's not somebody important. Hold on. It could be somebody important. Oh, no. All right. So we are officially changing the rules in the contest. Okay. I'm going to do this outside. All right. I'm not doing this in the office because I'm going to blow chunks when I eat this. And I'm not going to blow chunks all over my house. Okay. You guys raised enough money for damn it all. I will announce the winner of the hat. Although I have a feeling I know who it is, but I will be announcing the winner because they have until midnight. You're funny. You're funny. And I will do this in the next 24 hours. I don't know exactly when, but we did raise over what I said we needed to raise. Damn, what a bummer. I mean, I'm so happy for Q. I really am. If anybody wants to include any letters to him, send them to me because I will put together a package of letters to go off with it. I've done this once before. And it's if you do, just tell them you're thinking of them and that you're praying for everything we're doing to try to get them released. Hope is a really beautiful thing. Full of hope, not so much. So when I'm blowing chunks of Vegemite, and on the other side of the pond, there is a woman laughing hysterically and running it in half speed. It's her fault that I'm blowing chunks. I just let that be known. Oh, the smell of this is so gross. I cannot believe that you people intentionally eat this in Australia. I think it's a nationwide con. Do you have any idea how happy Alan Ballantyne is going to be? You just made his damn day. Alan he's just going to be so happy. He's not going to know what to do. Well, good people. Then let's really high step it. Let's raise as much money as we can for. Thank you so much to everyone who has donated. And we have until midnight tonight for someone to win the hat. We do now have somebody in first place, but we have until tomorrow night for somebody to win the original No Lie Captain Tommy Scoville. This was worn in 600 hours, if not. If it is not on the 5, I will miss it. I will make sure it is on the 5. Okay, Q rocks to be sure. Q is one of the I would say that he's one of the finest human beings I've ever met, if not the finest. He and my dad. I will. How am I going to do this at 5? I gotta vomit at 5. That could be bad. Happy to see you live again. What's the time over there? Here in Finland, it's 15:50 p.m. U.S. live programs usually in the nighttime here. Okay, and Mueller, it is currently 5:50 a.m. 5:05:50 in the a.m. here in the United States. And we go live on the fives, right? It's every five. It's 5 a.m., 5 p.m., 5 a.m., 5 p.m., 365 days a year. So everybody is saying this needs to happen at 5. Poop. It's going to make it harder. I'll get it done at 5. If I don't do it tonight at 5, I'll do it tomorrow night at 5. See, it would be easier for me to just go blow chunks in a few hours, but I will do this at a 5 o'clock. Okay. I will do it at a 5 o'clock. I don't want, today I went a little bit early. But I was still live at 5, full of hope. Yes, AZ equals Arizona, USA, which is where I am, and a lot of others. We have a lot of Arizona people here. Probably the first place I'm going to do a lifeboat group thing is going to be in Arizona, since I live here. But not just that, but because there's a ton of people from Arizona on the boat. So I'll be putting something together here pretty soon. 5 a.m. West Coast, East Coast, it's 8:50 in the land of the Packy. In the land of the Massachusetts people. See, they both knew where I was really going with that. Go veggie, go veggie, go veggie. You know what? Full of Hope thinks she's funny. I can't wait to go to the group thing. I will be there with bells. Awesome. We really are going to do that. I'm off. I am free to do as I want any old time. So we're going to be doing some of those here pretty shortly. Be your own hero. You know what? I might even end early because that is the comment right there, isn't it? May go out today. Fridge empty. You got this, brother. You absolutely got this. You're going to go out. You're going to go get what you get. You're going to come back home. If you start feeling squirrely, you come here, you reach out to somebody, get a group of people that you can call if you start feeling screwy. Because you get on the phone with somebody. I promise you it works. You get on the phone with someone and you go, hey, man, I feel like I'm doing it. Full of Hope says, I will eat peanut butter. Okay. So here's the deal, right? She says, you're going to eat Vegemite and I'll eat peanut butter. I got an idea, Full of Hope. I'll eat that Nutella spread that kind of tastes like hazelnut and chocolate, and you can eat dog feces. How would that trade-off be? Because that's what that just sounded like, right? Peanut butter is freaking fantastic. Vegemite is dog poo. Dog poo. I'm telling you, dog poo. Well, we're glad that you found us, Ann Mueller. We really are. We're glad that you're here. And much love to you and everyone in Finland. And I hope to see more of you here on the lifeboat. That's from the bottom of my heart. I could go for a White Castle. Let me know a week ahead of time. I will absolutely do that. Maybe we take a boat trip over to White Castle. How funny would it be to walk in? We could film it. I could walk in and make the order and it's like leave everybody outside until it's time for you to come in. Hi, I'm Captain Tommy Scoville. I need to get some burgers for the crew. Sure, sir. How many sliders would you like? 460. And I want 11 of those with extra cheese. 16 of them, no salt. 5 of them, right? Just go down and make this hellacious list. And then we can hit them with and 4 Coca-Colas because I'm pretty sure they only sell Pepsi. And then when they do the Pepsi, okay? No. Cancel that order. We used to do that in high school. Isn't that crappy? We used to go to Burger King because they only sold Pepsi. And we'd make these ridiculous orders. And you could hear the guy behind him just slapping burgers on the grill. You know, White Castle double jalapeno cheeseburger, please. 416. Yeah, right. We got this. Lemmy, did you say ew, White Castle? Damn, there's a chink in the armor. You don't like sliders? You truthfully don't like White Castle sliders? That's scary. I'm not kidding you. No. Sleep. Till Brooklyn. Yeah, I saw that. That was a reference. White Castle closed here. Honestly, and I'm not trying to be sacrilegious or anything else, but hearing that a White Castle closed to me is like hearing that a church closed. Like, how does that happen? Doesn't make any sense. They make them frozen. I got to be really honest with you. I don't care if they make them out of monkey meat. I don't care if they make them out of the sludge that you get when you stick your fingers in the dryer and pull out all of that funky lint stuff. Don't care, because they're fantastic. They taste awesome. Yeah, I got to make a road trip too. My closest White Castle from here is like 20 minutes, 25 minutes. I mean, it's not a huge road trip, but Charlie Mullins says, leave a comment after the show. And you know what? Charlie Mullins has the right to say that because he's never missed one. He's never missed one. And you know what? This is such a good way to end this show. Have you ever screwed up really badly? And it doesn't occur to you that you screwed up really badly for a month or 2 weeks or 6 weeks, but something happens and you go, oh my God, there's no way I did that. I'm going to tell you a story. Truthfully and honestly, in all of the lifeboat, right? I love every single person that steps onto the deck of this boat. I do. I love you because you're trying to fight. You're trying to fight the good fight and get sober. And I believe all of us addicts are related. I really do. In one way or another, it is a spiritual relation that we have with every other person who struggles. We are all brothers and sisters. That said, there are some people that mean so much to the boat because of just how long they've been here. And I remember days showing up when there were 6 people and we were doing live shows, or there were 4 people and we were doing live shows, and Charlie was one of them. And his lovely bride has also been a staple on this boat for such a long time. And we love, I call him Charlie Murphy, but we love Charlie Mullins and we love his wife. And her birthday came and went. And I'm going through and doing everything. And I found the Post-it note that I have behind the computer that said, please wish Mary a happy birthday. And I was like, I looked at this thing and went, you have got to be kidding me. I have never felt more like a lowlife. But happy birthday, honey. I know it's belated, but we love you. We really do. And you have my word that for the next 11 or 12 birthdays, I will not screw up in any way. I don't mean everybody's. I just mean Ms. Mullins, because the rest of you, I'm quite likely to screw up. But big sorry to Mary Mullins. I love you, hon. I really do. Charlie, I love you. I can't believe I screwed that one up. But I was going through the desk on the move, and I came across it. This was yesterday. I almost did a show about it last night, but it was after the last one that I did. Thackers cooked their sliders in lard and dipped the bun in lard and then smothered butter on the bun, topped the mustard, pickle, and onion. Wait a second. Let me get this straight. They dip the bun in lard and then they smother butter on the bun. My God, that sounds fantastic. I know I'm going to hell for saying that, but I want the lard burger. Where do I get this lard burger of which you speak? I am ready to try that. I'm sure it causes cancer, but I'm ready to give it a shot. Wait a second, Valerie. You like crystals better than what? Yes, deep fried. I used to run a deep fryer in prison, and I would deep fry anything, and deep fried candy bars are fantastic. Take care, Scoob. Lard makes everything taste better. I agree, man. I know it's probably, people freak out about lard, but you realize that during the Great Depression here in the U.S., it kept people alive. Honestly, lard kept people alive in this country. Thackers is out of business. The bar I used to go to got the recipe. Oh, wow. White Castle. I got you. Bacon grease. Yeah, that's, I always kind of thought that was the only lard. Is there other forms of lard? I thought that was it. I don't know. Crystals is the South's version of White Castle. Well, how dare they have a South version? Yeah, deep fried candy bars are incredible. You wouldn't believe how good they taste.
Of all of them, I kind of prefer deep frying. Mars bars are excellent. She's right, but I prefer Three Musketeers because of that kind of whipped nougaty stuff. When you get the bread crumbing, on the outside, the deep frying is just amazing. Mars bars are Three Musketeers, he said. Well, yes and no, because Mars bars have almonds in them. Three Musketeers are just nougat. There you go. He says there are definitely different forms of lard. Well, I prefer my lard to come from a pig. I used to make donuts for a living. Best job ever. You know something? There was a time in my life where, if I dreamed of the perfect woman, she usually was like a doctor or a lawyer, but she worked at Krispy Kreme on the weekends. Like when I was designing the perfect woman in my head, she would have maybe a part-time job at Krispy Kreme so that when she came home, she brought like 60, so that at any given time, there were so many Krispy Kreme donuts in the house that I had to throw them out because they were getting stale. Like that sounded perfect to me for a long time. My brother used to manage a Dunkin' Donuts. Oh, I would have gotten him fired. If my brother worked at a Dunkin' Donuts, I absolutely would have got him fired. Make no mistake. I would have been all over that. I would have been up there every day getting things. Sorry. Alrighty, peeps. The cat is not in the basket, and do you know why? I'll tell you why. Because she's an evil cat. That's why. And I still have uncomfortable stickers and things all over my body from exactly what that cat had done to me. Sorry. Just making sure. Sorry. MNTS freak. See, you know what? She makes a good point, right? She says, or just a doctor or a lawyer that was loaded and could just buy you 100 dozen donuts. Here's the problem with that, right? So I was married once to a genetic engineer and I was married once to a lawyer. So I kind of almost did it. And we definitely could afford all of the donuts that we wanted. But it meant that she was home all the time with me. And if any woman spends enough time with me, they will begin to hate me very quickly. So that extra time that they spend over at Krispy Kreme, it might just take enough time up so that they don't realize just what an awful catch I am. There's a reason I'm single. Like that, I hope that's occurred to you. There's a reason I married the lifeboat. I figured out after a very long and arduous process that the boyfriend / fiance / husband thing, I am so bad at that. For real, bad at it. Like I don't surf because I tried. Like I tried multiple times. I can't even stand up on a surfboard. And I've given it a try. And I'm a good athlete. Like I was a professional athlete at one time in my life, but I cannot stand up on a surfboard. Can't do it. I'm not a surfer. Nor am I a husband or a boyfriend. Same thing. It's not like I haven't given it plenty of tries, right? With tons of different people. And I'm not good at it. I am just damn bad at it. So that's what I'm sticking with. Alrighty, people. I will see you this evening at 5:00. I don't know that I'll be eating Vegemite tonight at 5. I will eat Vegemite on a 5. You hear me? Now, I do have to go back and make sure that I hear that I said if we raise $1,000 tonight versus if we raise $1,000, because we're over $1,000, but we didn't do it last night. So I'm going to have to get an official. I'm pretty sure I just said $1,000. I think didn't think that one through very well, but I should have said last night. Anyway, so I'll do it on the 5. I just don't know which one yet. And thank you all for your generosity. Even if it was just to see me suffer, I do appreciate. No, I'm kidding. All of you are the kindest people I've ever met. Make it a fantastic day, people. I'm Captain Tommy Scoville, and this was the Lifeboat. Adios.